So is that not going like a step backwards? Because I thought that so many private concerns, and in fact the governments have had this data and figures that you're talking about.
Where is the data? They are all in silos. They are all over the place.
So it's just a matter of aggregating them and then moving forward.
It's not as simple as aggregating it. You need to have the right technology in place so that you have what I call an integrated system that you can lay your hands close to your data to be able to make the proper decisions. Look at what I read yesterday. I read yesterday that they had vandalized some things that were imported for the airports. When they were doing airports under the former regime when Stella Udua was the minister. I understood about 20 of the containers out of about 40 of them were vandalized. Now, if you're telling me that you imported these things to revitalize our airports in 2014, we are in 2017, these things are sitting somewhere in a warehouse and nobody even knows that they are there, and vandals start helping themselves. The reason that is happening is what I'm saying. You don't have proper systems in place to track your projects. Somebody ought to have known that there were things ordered, which is money, right? And somebody would have known how far did we go with the projects, how much of the bill of materials that was brought in have we used, and what's left of it. The truth is, people didn't know that. So I don't want to overflog this, but the truth is we must put the government has to put proper technology in place to run their processes very well so that they can achieve the results they want.
I'm just thinking about that investment in technology, because I mean, we look at the budget of the likes of the Googles and the rest of them, and you talk about technology being the next oil, and how we need to position ourselves to ensure that we don't miss out on that part. But the schools themselves too, because sometimes you wonder the kind of curriculum that we have in those places. Is it something that you think that we should pay attention to? Because no matter how much you invest in that, if you don't invest in the manpower, the human capital, we may as well just miss out on that.
You are very correct. Because I've been also saying that maybe this forum, I haven't had the opportunity to expand on that, but since you asked the question, you realize that California, the state of California in the United States, is the 6th largest economy if you take them out and size them up as if they are a nation. And if you understand what makes California tick, it's because of their investment that started out of Stanford University, which is one of the top Ivy League universities in terms of technology or technical education in this country. And most of the research the government does, that comes out of Stanford ends up in Silicon Valley. That's how Silicon Valley was grown. And today, Silicon Valley is the biggest money spinner for the state of California. I mean, they have other things too, like agriculture and entertainment, but go and look at it properly. You see that it started from that school and that education. So you are correct. We need to look at our education. We need to look at the universities, like all the federal technical colleges like FUTO, in Imo State. Most engineers I ran into since I came into this country, in course of my work, came out of FUTO.
But that will be the long-term solution to this. But what will be the immediate short-term? Because this money is about to go through.
Well, yes, for short term is to understand or to ask questions whether the government understand exactly what they want the money for, and do they have what it takes to manage the money, if they get it, to make sure they get the desired results. That's immediate. But on long term, all the things I'm talking about now must start now, going in place so that we can actually grow out of this recession that we've been into. Otherwise, we're going to go back into the recession, even though it looks like we're coming out.
Yeah, well, we say we're crawling out of that. But one of the other things that the Minister of Finance mentioned why we could avoid the borrowings is if we pay enough tax. So they have the opinion that perhaps we're not getting it right with taxation.
She got a point there, but I will differ with her in the sense that how do you tax people who are already on the ground? The economy is already on the ground. Most businessmen are struggling. I know what I'm going through trying to keep my business going. So how do you tax people who are not even making any money? Yes, we must pay our taxes. I'm not saying we shouldn't. But the truth is you have to grow your capacity. And from that capacity, the government take their bit.
But she's not talking about increasing tax, just paying the stipulated tax.
We are saying the same thing. It doesn't matter whether you said paying, stipulated, or increasing. Stipulated tax is also a factor of the person paying. If my company that used to have over 100 employees and today I'm struggling with I'm down to about 20 because of the recession, how much tax are they going to get out of Net Solutions?
So does it boil down to that same data that you're talking about when you say that we need to get the data all straightened out and figured out appropriately for us to be able to assimilate all of these borrowings such that it goes into the right places? But the government, on one hand, on the onset when the budget was announced, did come out to say that we're going to finance this budget using taxes, and at some point that's changed, and it seems that borrowing seems to be the better choice now. What is it that the government is not getting? Is it predicated on the data that you're talking about that gave them that information that made them say that they will go the way of taxation, and that suddenly changed to borrowing?
Well, I think we are going in circles with taxes, borrowing, and that. All I'm saying is for them to explain to us as citizens that borrowing is the way to go. It's okay. Maybe the financial experts understand that much more than I do. But as a technocrat and as a project manager who has managed budgets, I'm saying you cannot borrow without proper plan about how you're going to recoup the money that will pay for that loan. Otherwise, you will have problems down the road. So when you say, I said data, that's all part of that planning. Do we have proper data to understand all the monies that we borrowed, how they were spent? Were they spent in the right things? For instance, if we're talking about railways as part of the infrastructure that the country is saying, have we done analysis of where these railroads will go and understand the traffic throughput that makes sure that the money, there will be return on investment when you put that rail line? For instance, you can tell me about East-West Highway as a proper gateway. You can tell me about going Lagos to Abuja, to Kano, Kaduna. Yeah. There are other areas that you put that rail and it won't make sense because it becomes just an elephant project.
Okay, even though they say they've got it all figured out, but I guess we'll focus on that subsequently. But let's wind down with this one. So about that tax, because they've got a huge, the way they're approaching it, they've got this, I think it's VA, IDEA, VAIDS, they've got different programs about tax. What would you advise government to do about this? It's in the light of what you talked about, economy going through recession.
What I will advise the government is, yes, even if you think that in short term we need some radical changes, I will agree with that. But having said that, knowing what we know, the government must get serious about having proper systems that captures the proper data of the citizens and the organizations we have in this country. And that's how you would understand how to tax them. Otherwise, we're doing it ad hocly and it will not add up. I don't care how you look at it, it will not add up.
All right, and the one other point, Dr. Steve Uwazie is the CEO of Net Solutions and the first country manager of IBM West Africa. Thank you for coming on this morning.
Thank you for having me.